try to be closer to the front. I think that's the target for us. Our worst weekend.
Max Verstappen looked straight at the camera and said it himself. They are nowhere near competing at the front. Not a rumor, not a headline, his own words. And when you pair that confession with what happened in FP1, what went down in the stewards room, and a championship gap that is growing race by race, suddenly this Suzuka weekend stops being just another race. The car is broken. The rivals have never looked this far ahead. A stewards investigation is hanging over the paddock, and a wet forecast is about to throw everything into chaos. This is not a bad weekend. This is a crisis, and nobody is talking about how deep it actually goes. Stay with me. So, let's break it down. But before, hit that like button and subscribe for more F1 breakdown. The data they don't want you to see. Alright, so everyone saw the FP1 result, Max P7, and most people just scrolled past it like it was nothing. But let's actually dig into what happened out there, because the number doesn't tell the full story. The real damage wasn't in the final classification, it was in Sector 2. Those medium-speed corners at Suzuka completely exposed Red Bull's downforce problem, and Max was bleeding time exactly where the RB22 was most vulnerable. Mercedes went 1-2, McLaren locked out 3rd and 4th, Ferrari ahead too, and honestly, it wasn't even close. Now here's the one thing that should give Orange Army a little bit of hope. Max's tire management in that session was actually decent. His race pace isn't completely dead. But let's be real, the car is making his life incredibly difficult right now, and no amount of driving talent can fully cover that up. Stewards Drama. Now this is where things get really interesting. After FP1 wrapped, the stewards called in Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. Yes, both of them. Same investigation, same afternoon at Suzuka. It happened at turn 15, the 130R, one of the most iconic corners in all of Formula One, and one that the cameras somehow missed completely. 6 drivers total were summoned, but honestly, the rest of them are background noise. What matters here is these two, the greatest rivalry this sport has seen in a generation, and they're right back in the middle of controversy at one of the most historic tracks on the calendar. What exactly happened between them at 130R? And more importantly, could this investigation change anything about how the rest of the weekend plays out? Keep watching. Nowhere near, quote. And then Max said something that genuinely hit different. He looked at the cameras and said, "We have to be realistic. We are nowhere near that level anymore." Let that sink in for a second. This is Max Verstappen talking. Guy who made every other driver look ordinary for 4 straight seasons. And right now, he's standing in the Suzuka paddock telling the world that Red Bull simply cannot compete at the front. The brutal part? FP1 proved every single word of it. But here's my take. The fact that he said it out loud, without excuses, without blame, without drama, that's actually a champion's mindset. He's not panicking, he's not pointing fingers, he's facing reality. And that alone tells you Max hasn't lost what makes him Max. The damage report. So after everything FP1 showed us, did FP2 change the picture at all? Let's find out. So FP1 was painful, but then FP2 came around and honestly, it got worse. Oscar Piastri took P1 for McLaren, Mercedes locked out P2 and P3, Ferrari P5 and P6, and Max P10. A full 1.376 seconds off the pace. Not a very profitable session. Max himself was complaining about having no confidence in the car whatsoever. And here is the part that really stings. Even Haas and Williams finished ahead of him. FP1 to FP2, nothing improved. Same problems, same story, same result. The upgrades Red Bull brought to Suzuka made zero difference. Championship standings. Let's talk about where things actually stand in this championship, because the numbers are pretty brutal right now. 2 rounds in, Max has 8 points. 8! The gap at the top of the standings is growing, and on current form, a normal recovery feels like a long shot. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, the season is long, anything can happen, and you're not wrong. But here's the thing that worries me more than the points. It's the trajectory. Red Bull isn't just behind,
they seem to be struggling to find answers. Every weekend, the same problems come back. At some point, hope needs to be backed up by something concrete. Japan is that moment. This weekend has to show something different, or the conversation gets a lot harder. RB22 car problem. So why is this happening? Let's break it down simply. The RB22, Red Bull's 2026 car, is genuinely struggling with the new regulations. F1 overhauled the entire aerodynamic philosophy for this season, and Red Bull's design approach got caught out badly in the transition. The car lacks the downforce it needs in the corners that matter most, and the balance issues are making it nearly impossible for even Max to extract what little there is. Here's the thing though, this is not a Max problem, this is a car problem. Think of it like giving the world's best chef a broken stove. He's still the best chef, he'll still make something. But a masterpiece? Not happening until you fix the kitchen. Red Bull needs to fix the kitchen fast.
The wildcard nobody is talking about. Now here's the part I find most fascinating about this whole weekend. Max and Lewis at Suzuka. This track has been a battlefield for both of them across their careers, and this season the roles are almost completely reversed. Lewis is in a Ferrari that's flying, and Max is in a Red Bull that's drowning. That dynamic, combined with today's Stewards investigation, makes the tension between these two feel very real this weekend. And then there's the weather. Rain is in the forecast for Suzuka, and if it comes, everything changes. Wet conditions are where Max historically turns into something else entirely. And here's a fun detail. Max was literally out in Japan recently driving a Nissan Nismo in the rain. The guy would rather drive anything in the wet than sit still. So if the skies open up at Suzuka, don't count him out. The final verdict. So here's where we are. FP1 exposed the car's real problems. The stewards stirred up some serious drama between Max and Lewis. Max himself admitted the situation with brutal honesty. The championship gap is growing, and the RB22 is the real villain of this story. But wet weather and a motivated Max Verstappen is a dangerous combination. My opinion, he's down, but he's not done. Now tell me, do you think a wet race at Suzuka gives Max a real shot this weekend? Drop it in the comments.